Hello and welcome to basically the last episode of Hades. Not really the last, but last of this block of recordings for this channel. But I'm gonna be taking a quick break with this game. I'm gonna probably swap to something a new game entirely. Don't know what I'm gonna do with that, but hopefully it turns out nice. This is gonna be another one of those CODEX entries, but what I'm gonna do is just talk to people.
You did it, lad. You must have lots of catching up to do. Or patching up. And I'm to understand that your escape attempts, they are officially approved, isn't that so?
That's so indeed, sir. Especially for now, at least. I'm going to keep on fighting to the surface. Helps me to vent a bit, and like Hypno says, it makes the underworld a better place. Though indirectly, I suppose.
Well, then I look forward to working with you in a more formal capacity. And it is my sincerest hope that you, your mother, and your father learn to get on better with each other now.
Thank you. It's mine as well.
Your Highness.
I can probably give one to Dusa.
Oh my. Your Highness, are you really sure you want me to have this?
I really am, Dusa. I hope you enjoy it.
Prince, so is it really true then that you're staying and that you'll be working here officially, I guess?
Well, when you put it that way, yes, I guess it is. We're going to try and make it work like this for now.
Well, you know what that means, don't you? We're official co-workers now. Isn't that so exciting? We can share our latest learnings, compare notes about the challenges we're up against, run into one another in the hall.
Dusa, we've been doing everything you said this entire time.
But it is not the same. The entire feel of it's completely different now. You'll see. So, okay, bye.
That's actually really precious. I'm gonna be honest. That was really precious.
Greetings.
How has it been for you so far, Mother? Reacclimating to all this? You said before it was a struggle. Must be very strange being back. Being in darkness all the time.
You know, I think it's gone all right so far. Thank you for asking, son. Everyone has been quite welcoming. The darkness is a pleasant change of pace. And while the stress can be a little difficult to move in, I quite like it.
That's good to hear. I have to admit I was a little worried you'd be desperate to return to your cottage by now. This place can be a little much.
I'm sure it can. And I do miss my little cottage here and there, but I think I'm through running away. There may be times when it is necessary, of course. But no matter how far you run, it doesn't make your problems go away. You taught me that, you know?
I did, but I tried desperately to run away myself. Oh.
Indeed.
Oh, Persephone is officially updated in the Codex, and let's give her a nectar.
Mother, was it always custom in Father's house to secretly give nectar to those you care about? I guess it also could have been a thing on Olympus. Look, I wanted you to have this. I'm so glad I found you.
Oh, Zagreus, you're so thoughtful, truly. Your father never permitted nectar out in the open, so I'd practically forgotten its savor. Though, just a moment. I have something for you, too.
The bomb
Mother,
blossom.
Thank you.
You hung the painting where I asked.
Yes. Well, look at you, boy. Never seen you quite so perky, relatively speaking, of course. Big, tough guy like yourself. You must have missed Mother just as much as she missed you. Well, you've got plenty of time for catching up on things now.
The monstrous triple-headed beast of Hades would perhaps be overcome with pure emotion by the joyous circumstances, were he only capable of this.
How dare you, sir? Greetings, Father. So, I can just head on out there again whenever I want. Don't need to stick to any rigid schedule.
Your unpredictability is one of your assets. Our defenses must always be on guard. So yes, go about your business as you best see fit.
And the Olympians are going to keep helping me, thinking I'm trying to get away from you to them. We can't keep this up with them forever, you know.
I do. Your mother, the Queen, is working on that.
Oh, I didn't see this back.
A vast and intricately crafted mosaic depicts the underworld king presiding over the enormity of his domain. whilst its chthonic residents look on in awe of him.
He's not really that great.
Keep it down.
I understand you've journeyed well beyond the pits of Tartarus, my friend. Another most heroic feat of yours. And truth be told, I find it quite inspiring.
Inspiring enough to make you want to sing again?
Though that's a rather bold insinuation, Zagreus. I don't know that I've the will for that. I need some time to think. Is that all right?
Of course.
Persephone, the queen. She has returned. I scarce believe it, child. You have brought her back. To all of us.
I scarce believe it too. What happens now? Pick up the pieces and begin again.
Together, let us
The
find
garden's
out.
always open now.
Yeah, it's
Sounds
open.
good.
The garden of Persephone the Queen, off limits to the prince throughout his life, now is laid bare to him at last in all its splendor.
Not like Mother's cottage, but not bad.
Just so I understand. Breaking through everything in your path, taking resources from your father's realm, trying to get through me. All officially part of the job description.
I guess that's right. But before you ask, I'm not doing it for him.
I didn't think you'd have it in you to leave this place for good. But I didn't think you'd take responsibility for anything either. Anyway, we'll just have to kill each other more officially, I guess.
We'll make it official, all right. Megara, the featured servant of the house.
Get out of here.
Give me the best deal you've got.
I don't need keys. I don't need keys right now. Alright, let's get the fish.
Here's the catch of the day. Or night.
Ooh, nectar. More nectar.
Seems fair enough.
Alright, what can I build here? I could build the music stand, which I might actually do. It's always nice to have it here.
Orpheus keep his boundless libraries of music in order. Just have to fill it in.
Oh my.
Our court musician need not be so indulged.
Now we have access to the music. I'm not gonna spend much until I actually get like the finish for the work orders and everything. So when that's done, I'll work on that. But anyways, let's go to our room. Okay, I don't think I can reflect. I'm gonna save up for this too, and then I think it's time to read the Codex. Let's go all the way to the Chthonic Gods. Alright, so the updated text, so they read through it in the previous Codex break. I'm just gonna be reading up to the highlighted text. Yet his meticulous veneer gives way to impatience is frequently enough, especially with his only son. This resentment extends to his never-ending work, for he presides over an endless procession of the dead. The master claims he alone can tend to their affairs, but grudgingly, I think, expects his son's support. Nix. Yet nonetheless, she toils about the master's house and conducts such affairs that fail to reach his notice or gain his attention. I think that was for Zagreus. Speaking of Zagreus, he was not insubordinate with me as was his reputation. Perhaps his own lack of decorum from back when I was at his apparent age made it easier for me to reach him. He learned quickly, exhibiting his father's strength and even greater dexterity. Caron, I wonder where he finds the time to mill about, as sometimes he is prone. His duty as the shepherd of the recently deceased must keep him very busy. Overall, yet even still, he finds the time to collect trinkets and sell them back to us, for reasons only he could understand. Hypnos. Though Hypnos may be lacking in propriety, he brings a certain cheer, however unconventional, into the grim proceedings of the house. Thanatos, although it is my master who presides over the underworld, Thanatos is death itself, brother of the sleep, an instrument of sending immortals to the underworld, more peacefully than violently, mind you, as I did not encounter him myself when came my time, by Ares and Apollo's design. Megara, her rep is very much notorious around these parts, and there are those who say she is more than my equal in the martial way, a conjecture I see no reason to test. Electo, I think I read through this, but with that being the case, I see it somewhat as a miracle that I myself avoided her barbed whip here in the underworld. I am thankful for Electo's reputation paints her as being given the wildest possible birth. Tisiphone, Among each of the Deathless Fury sisters, the one north Sisyphone is probably responsible for a particularly fierce rotation they all share, both on the surface of the earth and here below. Chaos. Here within the underworld, we are closer to chaos than the mortals and the gods above, close to that first, long-forgotten primordial consciousness, oft forgotten now, or believed dead and gone. Zeus. Lord Hades bears no love for him, for reasons I can scarce begin to contemplate. It is as though Lord Hades chooses wisdom not to consort with the Olympians. Poseidon, how many of my brethren did he drown during my mortal days? He comes across as affable, yet I now forget him. I think I read this before. Athena, and if anybody on Olympus might have the capacity to mend the rift between my master and the selves, it must be her. Though even in her wisdom, I remain unsure if she can sway my master's obstinance. Entry complete. Aphrodite, I sometimes think that she, among all Olympians, may be the mightiest of all. A crashing wave, a thundering tempest, all are preferable to a broken heart. Artemis, Lord Hades and Lady Artemis are certain traits in common, I suppose. Each solitary and committed to their work. If only my Lord Hades understood that someone such as Artemis could be someone to confide in, rather than resent along with all the others in Olympus. Entry complete. Ares, and yet men worship Ares willingly. They are so much like him. I should know, as a warrior, I was a warrior myself. Only in death do I begin to fully grasp my wrongs. Entry complete. Dionysus may explain why he, among Olympians, is so beloved by mortal kind, because he loves them back, bringing to them more joy than suffering, for the most part. Hermes, the underworld is an orderly place, but the soul of the dead must first be brought to its brink. He has much to do with this. He seems to be integrated himself to woman Charon, notoriously unapproachable even by the underworld's own. Thus is my belief that Hermes, besides his many talents, is the god of more than he appears. Entry complete. Demeter, I cannot imagine that she is moved by any of their offerings, which said of her hushed in hushed tones, not like the ones reserved for the master here. Once she managed to regress to sustenance with generosity until some stroke of fate befell. She changed and has never been giving us since. Morals who once prayed for her plenty now beg most for mercy. I think I've read this before. Give me a sec. I read far too many of them. I said many others. I think I read this before. I unfortunately to be on. Yeah, I have. Orpheus. No one sings a sweeter, sadder song than Orpheus, who, if I am to understand correctly, is one of the only mortals who once ventured down into the underworld and returned to tell the tale. He now resides among us permanently, even more full of what could have been. The master seems to take some pity on him, though, or simply likes his songs. He serves as court musician in the house. He earned the Fury's lashes for a crime of having once inspired the Lord Hades, cheated death, a reckless plan. Although he executed it and bought himself a little extra time, though now he pays for it, heaving that bullet constantly. Eurydice, the nymph Eurydice, burden of oak itself, must know this better than most of her kind. She took a suitor who, by most count, was but a common mortal, talented beyond compare, but not a god. Yet all the love they shared could not keep death from tearing them apart. Trickless Grimly, it is not my place to say much of him now. Theseus, now he reigns in this heaven of ours. Much as I read in life, with pride and confidence, both in abundance. The kings I knew in life aspired to the same, yet there is something distinctly different about him. It wasn't until young hero Theseus entered the labyrinth voluntarily, slew him in what was, by most count, a spectacular battle, a famous tale. I think I read this actually. Yeah. Cerberus. The fact that Cerberus now frequently rests at his master's side also suggests that the underworld has new vulnerabilities, a source of some concern to the Lord Hades, who understandably takes pride in his domain's imposing reputation. So now I sometimes offer my assistance, though it is here the little guardian bears her fangs, refusing any help that I can clearly see my own reflection in her polished countertop suggests she doesn't need it either. As proof of his reckless advice, and I am certain as to who he was in life, to be so self-assured in death, I am uncertain of why he is even here. It is quite odd the master does not seem to know of him at all. In the underworld, as in Persephone, as in the underworld as on the surface, certain topics are never to be discussed, especially in a decent company. While this is not a discussion, and the company I keep is rather limited, so let's consider the queen of the underworld, who she was, what happened to her, and why nobody seems to know the answer to either of those questions. Indeed. The Underworld House of Hades. Read this, read this, read this, read this, read this, read this, I think. I don't really know. And then Erebus. If the dead excel at anything, it is having to wait. It is the first thing among all the dead must do upon arriving at the edges of this realm. Greece. Here in the Master's realm, we are well provided for and do not suffer the whims of quite as many gods as often. Nevertheless, I must admit that there are aspects of my country that I miss from time to time. The stark, bright beauty of that strange, wondrous land. I saw so little of it, and even so, it stays with me like this. As for why the underworld has been one known way in, from my country of all places, if there is only one way in, there is only one way out. Infernal Arms, Stygian Blade. Ooh, boy. It has long been since the last blade had a partner, and as I transported it could sense its eagerness to return to battle. To relive its own memories, I am left to wonder who else shall someday bear this blade. The Master's son, among his charitable qualities, isn't warlike, although to want to use it forever. Eternal Spear. Let's see. He's something troubles me about it, although this Varatha, as I transported it, I felt as though it were once were mine. Absurd, yet there it was. The touch of a familiar friend. The thought is barely worth making a note of, but it made me wonder whether there is aspects of the weapon well beyond my understanding. That is to say, may it serve him better than to serve my master from my mortal days. Chiron, Lord of Centaurs, vast of wisdom. He had told me of its power, shown me it. I was young, and I did not believe him then, but I believe him now. Its might is uncontrollable, and its scarce function as a manner of defense. Instead, its writhing maw augments its wielder's might, shattering bone and solid rock with little effort and considerable zeal. Twin Fist. The Titans recoiled from Malphon's relentless attacks, overwhelmed by its fury, unable to defend against it as one might a spear or blade. The Titan Hyperion suffered the worst of it, his undying body pulverized to such an extent that even his legacy was destroyed. Let's pray for this sake that it shall never... Oh, I don't think I've read the admin rail for this. Give me a second. Yeah. Least known among the gods who stood together to dispose of the Titans is the Lady Hestia, reclusive goddess of the hearth, and one-time wielder of the exograph, the rail of adamant. An adamant of metal and flame, so dreadful that the gods themselves abandoned it once their foul work was done. The rail has a formal function and befits one's nightmare, while other weapons of the gods aspire moral counterparts. I am relieved to say the rail's crude design has not yet been discovered in a stroke of moral inspiration to conduct their wars. Let us pray for their sake that it never shall. For now, its secrets remain trapped within the darkest reaches of the underworld, along with the remains of the Titans defeated by it. Man, I don't know if these are like new or not. Even now, reduced to shades, they are compelled by evil thoughts and taken by brandishing about cruel weapons. I read this. Here the soul remains the source of purpose, stuff out of the finds we from domain. Having reduced to these wretched house themselves and for long forgotten urns, almost like underwater crabs, choosing ignoble homes from derelict seashells. I'm off as just highest bidder. I read this. Numbskull, rich screeches, the whole haze nonetheless. Read the Skull-o-mat. Within an endless litany of numbskulls waits to clatter forth, mindlessly preying on what little life essence that they are like to find. No sleeping in the marine and darkest of Tyrus, grass wherever. Yeah, I've read this. Their hatred concentrates in trying pain. Chthonic gods have learned to carefully avoid them possible. Nothing here. These entities appear to content to spread their entry, encasing wretched in utter damned in utter nothingness, a state in which they cannot come to further harm. I think I had to read once mortals who fell in battle, they were not given proper burial and now remain forever trapped in the throes of combat. Their seasoned couches encased within a prison of bleached bone. The brothers seem to heed the orders of Lord Hades and appear to recognize him as their one true master. Yet at times they do exhibit tendencies suggesting that they may have other callings here within the underworld. They likely all fell victim to their own inventions, even though they are not rightfully where they belong. Their luminous desire to destruction yet keeps them intact. I read this. They are nothing left towards their unique impulse towards bloodshed or the shedding of whatever can be torn asunder by their claws. No. Within these ways, devastation and the memories of their hateful transgressions, which they relive and recreate again and again, much like the ocean's wave lapping somewhere against brutal and uncaring shores. The dragons of Asphodel seem to be remnants of the latter category, though are rarely seen for their shame-filled tendency of remain burrowed in their dens, whereas the only ones sufficiently agitated, not so different from my kind, perhaps. In death, they are much closer to their goal. Their talents and devotions, reporting the higher self. Oh, I read this. Gorgon. I read this. Crusher. Haven't got enough. Morgan Gorgon. Bone Hydra. Splitter. Many now decorate the lowest prides of Tartarus. A scarce few, however, demonstrate such a zeal and talent that the Lord sees soon put them to work throughout this realm. It turns out that their beliefs were well founded in the Nemean chariots, yet raced across the moss and stonework of Elysium, completely endlessly training for their new competitions of their own design, and eternity of preparation for imaginary war, the best kind, I should think, which shall not take from them again their lives or kin. Believe me, more than once I witnessed some particularly brave or bloodthirsty soul abandon his expected duties to helm a vessel, crashing explicitly into enemy ranks like the stories tell. This led to death, of course, but by dying valorously and spectacularly, sometimes is sufficient to secure an all too decent spot within the afterlife. In life, I knew so many warriors who would throw away their lives for glory, believing that their gods were on their side, refusing to consider, or for how could they, that their hated opponents felt the same. Yet gods and mortals do look on this type of single-minded devotion with respect, and so these envied souls do wind up in Elysium, where they can fight on and on until they go blue in the face. Long spirit, these exalted souls, of course, are master of arms that would not have been placed within Elysium for the simple military feats alone. Yet if the choice avails them, they would brandish those spears of theirs and fight with the terrible wrath of the starved wolf. That is their idea of heaven. Strong with the realm still and sealing, who among them can let loose their arrows with the greatest skill, preferring live target practice to the more conventional kind. That can no longer stop them from improving in their mastery. However, slowly that improvement comes at this late stage in their careers. During my mortal days, a shield meant nothing to me, a mere hindrance to us, punctured just as easily as flesh. I understand, however, the exalted shields are made of stronger stuff, bound as they are the souls of those who fell while holding them in battle. Soul catcher, okay. Crawler. They crawl between the cracks and crevices beside and separate the massive underworld from lands above, growling a number of oblivious to the hollow ground they follow. Gigantic for them, multiplying enormously the quantity and girth. Their virtual nature seem entirely at odds with their existence, yet they too possess a vicious, cunning instinct and savage strength far superior to that of your everyday ordinary pest. While it is almost poetic how these pretty souls detest the living, striving as they do to regain their own lives, and to what end? They fling themselves upon the threshold to the underworld, inevitably shattering their ashes, spreading far and wide, so that they might reconsider on some impending day or night, or have another go. What gave them such a shape and single-minded purposes is left for imagination to decide, although the boorish satyrs despoiling the surface seem to take up residence in the same spaces, and may well be to blame for the new assistants as they are for many others. Take, for example, the dark movement of the satyr vermin worshipper residing in the temple gateway of the surface of this realm. What they must want is yet unclear, but their hatred of Lord Hades is not. Efforts to exterminate the god-faced fiends have proven unsuccessful to this point, for they reside frustratingly even beyond even the master's influence. What can they do in return except to desecrate the master's salt? Yet, if the master is uneasy, there must be a cause. Let's go to artifacts. There's a lot. They're born as world can have gaining oneness in the underworld, growing stronger in the wild. Therapy is given. He has even caught the prince's constant crimson fast igniting and glow. First show of everywhere you look, this wealth is fully on display. It is so plentiful that the master has taken to storing some of it throughout the realm, safely securing in well-protected troves. Any tampering causes the contents to begin to transfer beyond the reach, while shades in the master's services tend to the matter. Charon's opal here. The purpose of such going is strictly symbolic, for there is who value Bowman Charon. Here, the vital essence is the case of simple here. At times, it's called the window of Olympus, for in the accurate morsel that we can almost see that hollow amount of time, and we grow close to the gods who there reside. Deus having designed the interlocking chambers all throughout Tartarus, and even the floor plan of the Lord Hades' house, Deus since discarded his own tools so that now others may make careful changes fitting of genius such as he. But there are ways the keys lie strewn within Tartarus, perhaps beyond. They seem as though composed of the shadows of something disintegrated with first into dust, then nothingness at all when used. Perhaps that dust merely reformed into another key somewhere, some other time. Mere drop of the ichor, their blood holds memory of the catastrophic battle. It is enough to awaken within the weapons of that age a latent power that, when dormant, once titans to defy the gods were utterly defeated. The merest glimpse of such a dazzling display can spread a loathsome shade to action in the Master's name, and thus has Master Hades found himself within his realm of naturally occurring motivator for whatever must be done. Within the Master's self, a diamond always holds a special place. Its hardness to help escape excavating the stone and carve out like all the likeness of monuments, encapsulating many ages past. Its shimmering facets hew in a certain way, absorbing little bits of light that can remind even an ancient shade of what is meant and what it means to live. Nectar, ambrosia, and then loyalty card, the inscrutable liver boatman Charon, between hauling and the soul of mortals like the morning's god Catch, seems quite concerned with his vast collection of material things. Amid the finery, the shining metal coins and baubles. I know there are artifacts and considerable power, but for whom, he cannot be his only customer hauling around all that stuff about. The river denizens. Haven't really caught this. I think I got. They're growing with Scuffer. The creature's ability to defensively inflate not only provides a means of protection, but it also means getting dragged under the waters and into the underworld. So, truly, I read this. Carp. The Legion carp seems to be the shade of the surface-dwelling fish, highly reminiscent of it, with similarly multicolored scaled, and a placid, almost contemplated temperament. Clam. A common clam, plentiful, you see why the lead. The river Leith, flowing River's Hill, its shell most of the time is shut so tight it cannot be opened. I have heard clams feed upon the memories of the fallen, given the river of forgetfulness is distinctive quality. Though who first said this to me, I cannot recall. Yeah, armor-proof carapace. Yeah, I read this. Knucklehead. My mother taught me countless water-dwelling denizens, though of this variety I learned much more only in the darkest Tartarus. Their one sole habitat being the deepest reach of the River Styx. Hellfish, having desert to the river blood's red waters here, they are by now as common as undying shades, and seem very much content in having reached these depths. And that is it for the current Codex logs. Oh boy, I don't really want to go through these Codex, so in between runs, I'm going to read, if a Codex entry is added, I'm going to be reading it along the way, just to save my voice. And yeah, these Codex breaks are kind of boring to watch. It doesn't really net anything worth. It's just some added lore for those who are interested, and just some extra dialogue bits that I seem to like cram in between this. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching for this Codex breaks. As I stated before, I will be taking a quick break from Hades and probably going to swap to another game. And then once I'm done with once I feel like it, I will come back to this game and run it back with somewhat. And considering that the game's not done, like the story is actually not completely done, because now that Persephone's in the House of Hades, a lot more exposition can be drawn out, and the plan's still intact. There's still a plan in motion. And we got to make sure that we conduct that plan in the meantime. So thank you guys so much for watching. And see you when I get back to this game. Enjoy. Have a nice day.